Hi, welcome to Tea in a Chat. My name's Diahanne Rhiney. I'm on my way to interview a very, very special guest. So come along and join me. My very special guest today is Fiona Small. Great lady. She is the founder of the Young Mum Support Network, and the whole idea came about as a single mum herself when there was the London riots. What I really want to know is, who is the real Fiona Small? What makes her tick? Why does she do all this for the community? And you know what? I would like to see if I can really dig deep, because there's something there when I meet Fiona. There's something that drives her, and I want to know what that something is. I see you around and I hear you doing some great things, and I thought this is a young lady who I really need to know more about. I think she'd be a great example to the up and coming young women. And just really wanted to know more about your organisation, the Young Mums Support Network, when it started. So tell me a bit more.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me to your show. It's really nice. I love tea and I like to have a chat.
Yes, we know that. We know they like to chat, yes.
So where did it start? It started, as you know, I'm a mother of two. So I've got a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old, and when I had my son 3 years ago, it was shortly after the London riot. So I had him the 9th of June, and about 4 weeks later I witnessed the 2011 riots. But it really touched me in a way where I thought, there's something that needs to be done, you know. And I thought, what do we need to do, and who do we need to engage with, and who's responsible for what we're seeing? Everybody was blaming government and blaming this and blaming that, blaming young people. But I had to really bring it back home, because I looked at my son and I thought, well, who's responsible for him and his behaviour and how he grows up and his development and what he's exposed to? I am. I brought him here. And I thought, parenting, there is no manual and there's no real guide to this whole parenting thing. We literally learn on the job, or we'll kind of get tips from other people. We see what didn't work for some, so we try and avoid that and try your best as you can. But there are some that, when you look back at, you know, kind of what they've been exposed to, who's raised them, the exposure that they've had, it does have an impact on how you parent.
In the wake of the 2011 riots, after just giving birth to her 4-week-old son, Fiona shares with us the daunting task and revelation of the job that is parenting as a single mother.
When you look at being a single parent, nobody sets out to be a single parent. And I certainly didn't. So for me, 10 years ago when I fell pregnant with my daughter, the person I fell pregnant for said I should terminate my pregnancy, and if I didn't terminate my pregnancy, he'd have nothing to do with her.
Wow.
So I chose not to terminate my pregnancy, and I said, okay, well, I'm gonna have my baby, you know. And I tell people, it didn't make me bitter, it made me better. It was a long process, you know. It's taken me a long while to even have this conversation about it, really, without feeling like, oh, poor me. But I look at it, and I often tell people I take responsibility for my role, because I wasn't, you know, told that we're gonna settle down, raise a family, get married, and have all these amazing children. He kind of
told you up front.
He never told me that, you know. So the sheer fact that I hadn't protected myself and fallen into the situation that I did, yes, it wasn't nice to be dealt with like that. And to date, you know, he's never seen her. She'll be 11 in October, you know. Before you know it, it's like, when is that void in her life going to be filled? I've tried to substitute it, if I'm to be totally honest, with, you know, private education, other things that I felt would fill that, and just to try and fill the void. And also, I think when I look back, it was probably to kind of fill my own void, to feel like this strong, empowered woman that can, you know, hold my own. I can raise my child. Yes, I'm on my own, but look what I'm doing. Really? Really? You know? And it just, after a while, you have to come back to your own self and your own reality and feel like, who are you really trying to kid?
After being left to raise her daughter on her own, Fiona recognises the void that was left in her life as well as her daughter's.
It was then that she realised that maybe others were experiencing the same, so started the Young Mothers Support Network.
I really wanted to kind of get an understanding of the needs, because sometimes, you know, you can create an organisation or a group and feel that you understand the needs of the individuals that you're working with, but until you really start to kind of build a rapport and get involved in who they are, get to know them, that's when you kind of understand what the needs are, and you can then start to identify the trends and the patterns. So we've created free programmes, and this is off the back of a pilot. So we started at the Children's Centre, then we kind of moved fast forward into kind of looking at the needs and how we address them. Employment, housing, you know, looking at getting people upskilled off of benefits was really the focus. And it's personal development, really, if I'm to sum it up. I could, you know, put some fancy word on it, but it is about developing self. So we've got 3 programs. One is called Prep for Success, which is an early interventions NEETs program that we ran at a school. And then we have Ready Steady Work, which is a fantastic program supporting parents back into employment. It's more of a coaching model. And we have Ladies Lunch. And Ladies Lunch is, I love Ladies Lunch because it's a bit like tea and a chat, but it's just in a bigger concept. We've just, where the ladies come in and they learn new skills.
It seems you're doing some great work, and we definitely will be putting up all your details so people can find out more about the great stuff you do.
Thank you.
But let me ask you, what I want to know is, who is Fiona? I mean, what was your background? Where did you come from? What was your journey? Just tell me, we all want to know more about, because it just seems like, wow, this woman's amazing. She just come out of nowhere. But we've all got a story to tell, as they say.
Yeah.
And what is Fiona's story?
Well, my story, well, I was raised by 2 parents, mum and dad, both married. I'm the first child. There's 3 of us. So there's myself, my brother follows me, and I've got a younger sister as well. And yeah, we had a lovely childhood. Mum and dad, both very much in love. They're childhood sweethearts. I love their story. I wish I had that for my children. It was, went to school in Jamaica. My mum came over when she was 16, wrote to my dad for 7 years, and then sent for him.
Oh,
I know. And then sadly it went pear-shaped. When I was, yeah, it did. Which is really disappointing, because they got so much history. Even when I love looking in the albums at them, and I think, oh, look at them, they're so young, you know. But yeah, at 16, it was around my 16th birthday actually, mum and dad's marriage just fell apart. They weren't really getting on, and I really couldn't deal with it. And I blamed my mum for everything.
very interesting. Why your mum, not your dad?
Because by then my dad had left the household. He had also taken my brother. My sister was little. It was really kind of like a stage where it's like, why didn't you stop my dad from leaving? You know what I mean? It's all your fault. And then my dad at the time, because he was angry, would kind of manipulate my young brain, thinking that my mum's letting me think that my mum was the bad guy. So as an adult now and as a mother now, I get to realise my mum was not the bad guy, you know.
Yeah, but no, that's what that's why we're called children, for a reason.
Yeah, I had it wrong. I had it so wrong.
After witnessing the breakdown of her parents' marriage, Fiona's whole world crumbled. This manifested itself in how she began to behave.
It got to a stage where I got excluded. I did get excluded from one school. And I wasn't, because some of the stuff that was going on at home, not everybody knew about it. And it wasn't, when I was at that school, my secondary school, it wasn't as bad as then. When I went to my other school, that's when it got really worse. But what was going on at home was really bad. But I never shared that with anybody. But I also wanted to, I wasn't interested in school for a long time. I didn't like school, if I was to be honest with you.
What was it? You didn't like the teachers, you didn't like the subjects,
I
didn't like school?
I didn't like school, I didn't like work. I used to get somebody to do my work, sorry.
Oh dear.
I didn't like
You've
it.
got an exclusive there. So whoever did do Fiona's work out there, please come forward.
I know her name. I remember her name.
Oh my word, even worse. Disclaimer.
Fiona would now move from her childhood home in search for independence and went from living in a hostel to her own flat, not realising things were going to take a turn for the worst.
There came an interesting time, especially shortly after I'd got my flat. I wasn't in the best space I started to feel quite down. I think having the flat kind of overwhelmed me as well, because it needed decorating, it needed kitting out, and I wanted it to be a certain way. I wasn't, you know, people want to give you these little until it's sending you to kind of second hand. I've never seen second hand in my life. No, not me. I used to rent cars every week.
Wow.
And I used to live like this really...
Ask them, say, Fiona, are you that? Because I don't know if I can do that now.
I know, yeah, it was hype. It really was. And at that time, you know, I used to kind of move in some circles that everybody thought they were superstars. So clearly you move with them, so you're a superstar as well.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And it got really silly. And I needed to just get out. And there was an opportunity. It's interesting that, you know, we're having this conversation now, because I went away and I went to Jamaica. But when I was 20. So I went at 20. It was January 2000. I'll never forget it. And when I was out there, and at the time, I'll be honest with you, I did used to smoke weed, and I knew it didn't do me any favours. It didn't. And going to Jamaica and smoking weed, all I know, when I came back to the UK, I wasn't right. And I tell people that because I couldn't sleep. I came back to my flat and I just felt really uncomfortable. Come back from a nice, beautiful place like Jamaica and come back to England and can't sleep. But I came back because I was in a place where I just wanted to change everything. I wanted to change my lifestyle. I wanted to change the people I had around me. I wanted to change everything. So I remember coming back and seeing loads of missed calls on my phone and thinking I couldn't even select 5 real friends on my hand, you know. And I just felt really quite vulnerable as well, and disappointed with self and lots of different things. And I got really distressed. And one day when I had got back, because everybody was worried, so I probably got back maybe the day after, I had all these people turn up at my house. It was my mum and about 8 other people. They were all in my house, and they were like, and by then I was telling everybody about themselves. So I was saying all sorts of stuff about this one and that one, and stuff that I heard about some family members, stuff that wasn't really nice, but I was just really lashing out. And so I knew something was happening, because there was an individual who took my mum into the kitchen and they were having like a conversation. And then anyway, they said to me, they're taking me to my mum's house. So I said, all right. So, you know, put up a bit of resistance. They were like, come. I ended up at this place. And I never forget, it was like a dark room, and this guy had on this white coat. He said, are you okay? I said, I'm fine. Are you okay? He said, yeah, have you been sleeping? I said, no, I haven't been sleeping. He said, I'm going to give you this, and this is what's going to help you to sleep. And then when I looked around, I realised I'm in a hospital, and they had taken me up to the Maudsley.
Realising that she was out of control, Fiona's family stepped in to get the help that she needed, which resulted in her being voluntarily admitted to a mental health ward at the Maudsley Hospital.
I was diagnosed with bipolar. They diagnosed me as a manic depressive, but it was a really surreal time, because I remember, you know, because I hadn't slept, I hadn't been sleeping, and I probably was jet lagged, and people that are jet lagged sleep. So you come back from holiday and you can't sleep, something's not right. When I took that tablet, and I did, and I slept, I woke up in a room that I can only describe as looked like a cell, like a prison cell, and I didn't realise, I thought what had happened didn't really happen. So when I woke up, I thought, where am I? Looking around thinking, oh dear, this really happened.
And you was what, 20 still?
20, yeah. So I opened the door and I looked down the hallway, and then I looked down the other side. I saw all these rooms and doors. I said, okay. So I came out, and there's like a big communal area. This person came up to me, one of the patients, said, hello. I just broke down into tears. I said, I just live down the road. I've got to go home now, because I shouldn't be here. And I was there for about, call it 2 weeks. And I had to use, that's what I'm saying. Interestingly, I wasn't taking their medication, because I saw what was happening to the other people that were there. And there's a time when they call you meds, and everybody goes running up to this and line up. And then they all go and take their meds. So I was just like, okay, take it, put it under my tongue. When they turn their head, I just spit it out. Because I was like, you lot ain't helping anybody else in here. Show me somebody that's getting well. Because I can see that I'm all right, but I just need to get out, because this was a mistake. And then I saw somebody come back from being sectioned, and they were chained, they were cuffed in a wheelchair, strapped with their head down, and I saw they wheeled them past me. And I I just thought, this surely isn't my life. This can't be where I've arrived at, you know?
It's interesting because, you know, my colleague and I were talking about this because of the Clark Carlisle was in the papers last week, and people are commending him of talking about his depression and his mental health illness, and about the stigma that's associated with mental health. You know, 1 in 5 of us are going to have some form of mental health illness. And I don't, for you to, it's funny, people always see this, when I see you, you're always bubbly and you're doing well, positive. People would be shocked to know that at one stage in Fiona Small's life, she was an inpatient at the Maudsley Hospital.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's great that you feel you can talk about it, because I think there's a lot of young mums, specifically as we're talking about young mums, who are suffering in silence, and it's good that you feel, I don't know if the word is comfortable, to talk about it.
I think people have become less ignorant to mental health now, and they're looking into like postnatal depression and the connection between postnatal depression and mental health. They're looking into, you know, you had Robbie Williams that killed himself, was it last year?
Yeah, 2014.
And you know, I suppose when celebs come out, you know, and say that they're suffering with singing, it becomes normal, you know, when then people that are...
But the reality is, some people, this is the reality, some people do not go to their GP because it will then be on some sort of record.
That's right.
And because of work or whatever, they don't want it to be a stigma. A lot of people don't understand, even sometimes it can affect insurance policies. So it seems that a lot of times it's used against you when you're actually just being brave to come out and say, I need help.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because it's not something that you want to talk about because of the stigma attached to it. I say to everybody, I didn't become depressed until I came out, because when I came out of hospital, as much as I wanted to be out of there, of course I did, but being out of there was really, because you come back into society where you're thinking, oh my goodness, and everybody, to me, I got paranoid. I thought everybody knew that I had just come out of hospital. It's like I had a sign on my forehead saying I've just come out of hospital, because people used to just keep looking at me, and then every person that had some form of mental health would come and have a conversation with me, and I thought, well, this must be like unto kind, because why would you, why is it that me, of all the people that's out in the street,
you're talking to me?
Why come to me?
But that's it, but I suppose that's a bit of paranoia, isn't
Of course
it? It's like
paranoia.
when you're going
Of
through
course
your
it
stuff, you think, does everybody know? You know, am
it's
I
just
wearing
like when
this?
you're pregnant, isn't it? And then all you do is see buggies and pregnant and babies. It's like, it is like literally like that. But I was depressed. I didn't come out. I didn't used to answer my phone, and everybody wanted to support me then. No, I want to be on my own. Do you know what I mean?
So does it affect you now, Fiona?
It does. I think I know my triggers. I have highs and lows. I definitely suffer with a bit of post-traumatic. I definitely suffer with post-traumatic because I have highs and lows. I do have times where I get down, you know, and I feel, you know, like you just overwhelmed. And because, you know, they diagnosed me as bipolar, it's a manic depressive. And because I'm a person, what it is my energy needs to be controlled, because I'm quite a energetic, enthusiastic, you know, when I'm doing stuff, I do it with passion, you know.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, but because of the manic side of things, it has to really be
kept under control.
Absolutely. But I didn't realise that until very recently, in terms of the time of years, the triggers, what I need to kind of do. And I'm big on therapy, so I'm very much into like relaxation. Love the sauna, love steam rooms.
Do you go for regular
massage? Do
you see a psychologist? Do you do CBT? Do you anything like that now?
No, but I should do. I definitely need to, just because some of the challenges that I've got going on with regards to, you know, a co-parenting model that I'm trying to work out with my father's son and I. My son's father. Mm-hmm. I stand corrected. And also, you know, the different stuff around Natyla, which is my daughter, who still hasn't seen her father, and that's still kind of unaddressed. So I've got I know that there's some stuff still unaddressed, still outstanding, and I realised when I look back, 15 years ago, that you need to deal with the unaddressed stuff because they come back and creep and they can haunt you.
Having shared her experiences of having suffered with a mental illness, Fiona talks about how she lives life and the difficulty with confronting her past.
It's been 15 years since since I came out of hospital, so it's 2000, and Sunday, and that's obviously 15 years since I went to Jamaica. Sunday I'm actually going back to Jamaica and it will be 15 years. And for me, I look back at the whole Jamaica thing and I'm glad I'm revisiting it, because I used to think something bad was in Jamaica. Why that happened to me.
But it's not, because look, you're going to where you need to be, and I think it's very poignant, and I think things do happen for a reason. And you're probably going back there to say, there's nothing there. That actually maybe the demons that you were facing were in Fiona, and Fiona doesn't have those demons anymore, because Fiona is on the up and up. And that's what this is all about. It's about, for me, it's just seeing people who really walk that walk and talk that talk and have overcome such amazingness. And I wish I was going with you on Sunday to Jamaica. We will get you some lovely tissues.
Thank you.
And, but I'm glad, and I'd love to know how that journey goes. So I will definitely do a blog about how Fiona's trip to Jamaica went, so people can follow your journey.
Thank you. I am glad. I'm glad I'm going, because that was what was in my head. Oh, don't go to Jamaica. You come back mad.
No, you won't come back mad. Trust me. Just to conclude and to wrap up, if you could give maybe a sentence or a few words of just what you would like to say to the young mums out there to inspire them, what would it be in a sentence?
What I would say is to, before you had a child, you were somebody. And no matter that you've got that child now, you can still be the person and you can still achieve whatever it is that you've set yourself out to achieve. Because sometimes we look at our children as hindrances and as they're kind of there to stop us from where it is we want to go, when actually they need to be our driving force and our determination. So use that child as your driving force, to really inspire and empower, because you want that child to look up and say, that's my mum.
Fantastic. Thank you. This was an amazing interview with Fiona Small. It was more than a tea and a chat. So until next time, bye.